Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Stuart Allen Swerdlow.
And Janet Diane Moria Swerdlow.
And this is the Expansions News Podcast for the second week of September 2018. And as most of you know, this very week we are starting the September Spectacular week-long classes, actually more than a week, when you consider the Oversoul Mastermind group before and afterwards as a very long period of time. And so I will get right into some of the information for this week. Many of you may recall over the last several years I've been telling you that they have demoted Pluto as a mini planet, as an asteroid, as a Kuiper Belt object, and so on and so on. And I have been telling you, no, it is an actual planet, although it's not a real planet, it's not a natural planet. But still, more than a decade after it was demoted, the planet has been reignited under a new study. This is interesting because the research came from the University of Central Florida in Orlando. Who would have thought Florida in Orlando, Disney World land, would actually come up with accurate information?
Well, they have a dog there that they named the planet Pluto after.
I suppose so. That's very hysterical, actually, because they claim that the reason Pluto lost its status is not valid, which I agree with. And they said that it's the established definition of a planet that required it to clear its orbit, or in other words, be the largest gravitational force in its orbit. And so they said, since Neptune's gravity influenced the neighboring planet Pluto, and Pluto shares its orbit with objects, frozen gases and objects in the Kuiper Belt, it meant that Pluto was out of planet status. However, a new study reviewed scientific literature from 200 years ago, published actually in 1802, so it's 216 years old. They said that using the clearing orbit requirement to classify it as a planet is based on since disproven reasoning. And they defined it on the basis of a concept that nobody uses in their research. And according to this information, they said we now have a list of well over 100 recent examples of planetary scientists using the word planet in a way that violates the definition. And they're doing it because it is functionally useful. I'll translate, it's because they're told to do that. And according to this, it's a sloppy definition. And yes, it's absolutely correct, it is. The real division between planets and other celestial bodies, such as asteroids, occurred in the early 1950s when Gerard Kuiper, hence the Kuiper Belt, published a paper that made the distinction based on how they were formed rather than how they behave. So it is therefore fallacious to apply the same reasoning to Pluto. So finally, accurate information, Pluto is a planet, though an artificial one, that was brought into our solar system in 1930, and I will discuss that more, not only in the September class, but in the Tampa investiture weekend.
Did you talk about Pluto in this one?
I have no idea.
You don't?
No.
So Blue Blood, Remember People, and True World History. Great books.
I don't remember everything I said.
No?
So I require all of you who memorize every single letter and action that I've ever said or acted out. You seem to know more about it than I do. To Brazil. Brazil's National Museum said that the centuries-old Torah scrolls, this is very important considering the information I'll be providing this coming week, considered to be some of Judaism's oldest documents, were removed before a massive fire ravaged the museum and gutted the largest collection of national history in Latin America. Wait, I have more information on this. According to the investigation that's ongoing, they are unable to access much of the now destroyed museum. That's interesting. Officials have been reluctant to give any account of how specific artifacts fared in the fire or disclose information on other material that may have been in other locations. In other words, cover up. According to the museum statement, the Torah is being kept in a safe place. So obviously they knew there was a fire coming and they took it out. And it also says that they will not say where it has been transferred. Brazilian scholars have said the scrolls originated in Yemen and possibly date back to the 13th century, that's the 1200s.
So how did it get to Brazil?
Well, I'm going to tell you. A huge fire engulfed Brazil's 200-year-old National Museum in Rio de Janeiro, lighting up the sky with towering flames. The museum's website said the 9 scrolls written in Hebrew were acquired in the early 19th century by the country's last monarch, Dom Pedro II. Now, why would a Catholic monarch require these ancient Hebrew scrolls? Now, according to the Jewish organization in Brazil, the officials told them that the Torah was being housed at a university library near the museum. And the museum is part of the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. I'm going to tell you the fire was a cover for many important items that were removed for various reasons that they wanted to use now that things are coming to a head in the world. They took out these items and they covered that up with a fire. Where did we see this before? Back in 500 AD with the burning of the Alexandria Library, and we were told that thousands and thousands of original documents were lost, but they were found in the basement of the Vatican.
That's a surprise.
Now let's talk about end times and Jewish history and the Torah and the Kabbalah, because you know what? That is one of the foundational information that I'll be talking to you about next week, and for a very good reason, because of what's happening. Because guess what happened in addition to this fire? At the same time this fire happened, a pure red heifer was just born, which will signal the coming of the Jewish Messiah and the rebuilding of the third temple of Jerusalem. What have I been reporting to you in the last few years? That Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, said during his administration of Israel, the third temple will be rebuilt.
So the pure red heifer is a sign?
Let me explain. Just calm your little self down. The Temple's Institute, they actually have a red heifer program. They said it was blessed with results. An entirely red female calf was born, paving the way for reestablishing the temple service and making the final stage of redemption. Because it said, almost 3 years ago, the Temple Institute inaugurated its Raise a Red Heifer in Israel program, and due to laws restricting the importation of live cattle into Israel, the Temple Institute imported frozen embryos of red Angus. I think you're familiar with red Angus. Implanting them in Israeli domestic cows, who then gave birth. And just a week after its birth, the newborn red heifer was certified by a board of rabbis as fulfilling all the biblical requirements.
Well, they kind of forced it. It wasn't like it was a miracle.
Well, yes, it was a miracle, because even if you force it, God has to let it happen. Isn't that so? Anyway, it says biblically mandated process of ritual purification for impurity that results from proximity or contact with a dead body. I have no idea what that means.
That's what I was going to say.
The heifer was born from a natural birth. Must be entirely red, with no more than 2 non-red hairs on its body. Very much like myself.
I wonder who's counting.
You could count all the hairs on my body and see if there's 2 or 1. It must also never have been used for any labor or have been impregnated. Well, that could be me. The existence of such a heifer is considered a biological anomaly and very rare. Now here's the part, people. From the time of Moses, who personally prepared the first heifer, until the destruction of the temple, only 9 red heifers were prepared. Nevertheless, this was sufficient to maintain ritual purity of the entire nation for 2,000 years. But according to Jewish tradition, there will only be 10 red heifers in human history, with the 10th heifer ushering in the Messianic age. And guess what this heifer is? It's number 10.
They have to say in Israel because red heifers are born in other places too.
Not that they may have more than 2 gray hairs on them.
No, probably most cattlemen are not out there counting.
Well, somebody did, because the 10th red heifer will be accomplished by the King, the Messiah, and he will come speedily in our time. And now, people, you know why the United States and other countries have moved their embassies to Jerusalem, because they believe the Messianic age is beginning and they want to be at ground zero when the Messiah comes back. And do you believe in global warming? Do you believe in global warming? I don't believe it. Because guess what happened? I reported the last couple of weeks that in August, Saudi Arabia had snow. Then last week we reported that Italy and Austria and Germany had snow in summertime. And guess what? In Colorado, there was a town covered by snow. And my papers got mixed up here. You must have messed up my papers, didn't you?
That wouldn't have been you.
No, I never do such a thing. But yes, according to the National Weather Service, there was 2 inches of snow in Hoosiers Pass, which is located in the mosquito range. Well, that'll keep the mosquitoes away.
I was going to say no more mosquitoes now.
I haven't seen any mosquitoes this year, have you?
Few.
And now, I just want to give a little bit of an update on what's going on behind the scenes. I know some of you don't like this information because you don't like the source of the information, and that's your problem. Because we want to believe the conventional news and believe that the conspiracy information is false. Well, guess what? It's happening live in front of you. Things are happening. What has been predicted is currently in process. And I will tell you that there is an undeclared U.S. civil war that has begun this past summer and that has involved the shooting down of the secret satellites of the cabal. And on August 30th, CIA satellites and supercomputers were taken down and likely seized by President Trump and the new Space Force, as well as the alliance involving alien beings.
Although the Space Force has been around for a while, they're just now
Yes,
announcing
they're just announcing it, and it was removed by an NSA database, and also the CIA source in Asia, who was involved in setting up the secret satellite network, said it was taken down last week and issued the following warning to their colleagues. They are warning each other. Quote, "We are in a potential danger. Good. I hope your vehicles have fuel and you have emergency food and water on hand. There's no telling who did this. I can tell you who did it. Or why, and I can tell you why. And now that some of our satellites are down, God only knows what may be coming at us. I know it's coming at you, and it's not pretty, and you deserve every second of it." A third source says Nathaniel Rothschild's faction, apparently against their own family, was involved in the shootdown, saying that, quote, "Nat," meaning Nathaniel, "is back in play. He is with us. We are dismantling the Nazi Antarctica global grid of communications. This includes several orbiting satellites, one of which has already been eliminated." Everything I've told you people in the last decade is coming true. The communications takedown is a prelude to both a military and financial offensive against the cabal. Keep the words Red October in mind. October, Red October. A complete reset of the global financial system has already begun, and that is based on the good side, quote unquote, of the Rothschild family. And another quote, "We are in a global currency meltdown. It cannot be stopped. A financial reset is imminent and will happen before December 2018, not too far away." Here's a major thing. In the early morning hours on September 1, President Donald J. Trump's green-lit an operation of Special Forces soldiers to raid a Clinton Foundation-owned property on the island of Borneo, which is not far from where all the major earthquakes have been occurring. I wonder why they have been occurring. So here are some questions for you to think about. Why have so many CEOs resigned, died, or disappeared recently? Why are so many political leaders not seeking new terms, i.e. Rahm Emanuel in Chicago? Why are so many vicious media attacks on Trump and family occurring, i.e., CNN, BBC, and so on. Think about this because more is coming this month, and you just wait till October.
Okay. All right, I have a few stories.
Only a few.
Only a few. So the first one has to do with isolation programming. And this is about a Japanese hotel staffed by robots, including dinosaurs that greet you at reception and egg-shaped machines that sing you to sleep.
Yeah, most of the hotels I check into, there's dinosaurs behind the counter.
Now, the first one opened in Nagasaki in 2015, and I
Nagasaki?
believe I reported on that.
Isn't that where the nuclear bomb supposedly was dropped?
The henna chain, and henna means weird, has been
Japan's
billing
weird.
itself as the world's first hotels with robot staff. At each Tokyo hotel room, you get a mini robot, and that mini robot helps you with everything from changing channels to playing music. They have automated garbage cans, the fish swim in the lobby run on batteries, and they even have an automated trolley to take your luggage to your room.
So there's actually fake fish that run on batteries.
Apparently so. Not only that, but they use facial recognition for you to get into your room, so you don't have to
So
swipe.
if you're Asian and you all look alike and it won't work,
Now, according to this is what they use. Now, what's interesting to me is because this hotel manager is claiming that they have a shrinking labor market in Japan, and that is why that they are using robots. However, in my opinion, I think of some of these futuristic movies that I've seen or books that I've read where there's like nobody around. You walk into these hotels, you check yourself in, and there's nobody. So again, to me, it's more about isolation programming, and this is what this is helping people to figure out. And so when you go to these hotels, and in the beginning it's kind of a novelty, but it's like when I go to the bank, the drive-in window, I like to see who I'm talking to. And even those who have put those in, they pull the shades down oftentimes, so you can't even see the tellers.
maybe they didn't have their makeup on.
No, it's all about isolation programming. So anyway, it's interesting. It's going to get continually more weird. Okay, and then I have been talking, I think it was last month, the Wizard of Oz programming on my blog. And interestingly enough, guess what happened here recently? Judy Garland's stolen ruby slippers were found after how many years?
I didn't know they were stolen.
13 years. Okay, so Wizard of Oz programming, Judy Garland's stolen ruby red slippers found after 13 years.
They probably wouldn't fit me.
I don't think so. They were taken from a Minnesota museum in 2005 when someone broke through a window late at night. Now the slippers
Good
are...
security system.
That's what I was going to say. The slippers are often said to be among the most valued props in movie history, with an insurance on this pair of slippers for $1 million.
I know what happened.
What?
They broke in, they clicked their heels 3 times, and they went to the land of Oz and disappeared. They couldn't trace them.
That's possible. But what's interesting, I'm sure movie props must be worth more than $1 million. And they reappear after 13 years. And guess what? They don't know how they reappeared. Now, isn't that interesting? So maybe you're correct. So
I'll give you a hint. We couldn't sell them because it was so popular, so we had to just give them back secretly.
No, I'll tell you what happened.
What?
What happened is somebody took them purposely. They held them for the 13 years, and now...
For ritual.
Yes.
Ooh, you're
Now
so
everything
smart.
is coming back. And remember, I did write about this on my blog. I'm starting to call that a study blog because we do such in-depth work there every month. So on my study blog, last month we did sexual deprogramming. It was very, very good. And we talked about Wizard of Oz programming. So,
You know, I did see a pair of shiny red shoes in your closet a couple of years ago.
yeah, I thought that was your closet.
Don't tell everybody that.
Anyway, and then in China, did you hear about the Chinese kindergarten principal who invited a pole dancer to perform on the children's opening day?
China?
In China, I was
They have pole
surprised.
dancing in China?
Apparently, this kindergarten had children ages 3 to 6, and the principal thought that it was international and good exercise. But interestingly enough, all over the school courtyard there were advertisements for a pole dancing school. So the principal of the kindergarten issued an apology saying she thought inviting professional dancers to the kindergarten to perform for the parents would liven up the mood.
So did they get executed?
Well, she did have to apologize. And then she said even before the Education Bureau asked her to apologize, she was thinking of asking for forgiveness
Or die.
and promising them that we would not teach the kids this kind of dance. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Surprised at China.
Me too, because China is very conservative.
Yeah, strict.
So, and so for this to happen in a kindergarten, it was in any school really, but kindergarten. Yeah, it's all.
That principal, you go now.
And then how about bug programming? What bugs you, right? Bug programming.
lot.
Now I have been talking to you for years about how that bugs are like the food of the future, and I'm not saying that necessarily in a positive way. It's just that that's what I saw coming down the pike, and that's what's happening. So a new clinical trial from the University of Wisconsin. Everything's happening up in this.
There's a lot of cheese in Wisconsin.
Yeah, which they should eat that instead of bugs.
Yes.
But anyway, apparently they did a new study. This lead researcher named Valerie Stoll, who is a recent doctoral graduate of the University of Wisconsin and lead author of this study, says there's a lot of interest right now in edible insects. Now, this was interesting. It's gaining traction in Europe and in the U.S. We've been to Europe a lot, and I don't see people over in Europe eating bugs, do you?
No.
And we get around a lot in the U.S., and I don't really see people eating bugs either.
I don't either.
But by saying this,
In
it's
Asia
putting
you
it
do.
out there. Yes, in Asia you do, but not here in the U.S., certainly not in Europe. But she's claiming it's a sustainable, environmentally friendly protein
Then
source
let her eat them.
compared to traditional livestock. So they published this study in the Scientific Reports Journal, which was 20 healthy adults ages 18 to 48 over a 6-week period to assess the effects of eating cricket powder.
Cricket powder.
Cricket powder.
I've heard of this, yes.
They put it in muffins and shakes as protein.
No.
So what's interesting to me, because I've also been talking to you about this, is the researchers collected blood samples and, of course, poo samples from participants. And what they found out was that there was, an increase in a metabolic enzyme associated with gut health, as well as an abundance of a strain of good bacteria in the gut. And they found a decrease in an inflammatory protein in the blood linking depression and cancer.
Plus at night your intestines make clicking noises.
Probably. So anyway, but they do say that there was only 20 people and they should have a larger study. But the point is they're still putting it out there for people, because every time you hear about people eating bugs,
I don't like to hear anything.
even though you go, ew, then pretty soon people go, well, maybe I'll try that because everybody else is doing it. So that eventually they start opening this frequency. So you're going to be eating bugs instead of protein that's
I hope
better
you don't
for you.
start making that.
Well, not my intention to make that. Now, this was also a very strange article, I thought. This one is actually about the Satanic Temple. The Satanic Temple claims that after Trump's election, that their membership increased and has become a hub for the anti-Trump resistance.
I'm not surprised.
Now, according to the co-founder Lucien Greaves, the 4-year-old temple, I thought it was a lot older than that.
It is.
The 4-year-old temple had a pre-Trump membership of around 50,000 people.
That much?
That's what they said. Now they claim since Trump's election, it's jumped up to 100,000. Of course,
my goodness.
well, who's keeping tabs and who really knows?
Who wants to believe in that crap?
But they go on to say that people are joining it for spiritual reasons as well, because they're leaving traditional churches, they're looking for something else, they can't find any authenticity, so they go to the church.
I'll explain.
Yeah.
Because that church, or it's not really a church, they'll allow you to do anything, whereas the other churches won't. So yeah, we'll go to this one instead.
So what it really does, it continues to open up the satanic frequency,
Right.
It opens portals to the
Oh, you want to
astral.
murder someone? Yes, Satan says you can.
Yeah, a lot of really nasty things happening out there, so,
Hillary's part of that church.
what they do is they
Upside
start
down cross and everything.
they start opening up the portals and they start opening up their frequency, and then it's like the bug thing. People go, oh, well, other people are going, maybe I should go. Or they do like really fun things. So you go to the really fun thing, and the next thing you know that you can have demonic attachments, you can have astral attachments, a lot of stuff that you don't want to get involved in. So, don't participate.
No.
Okay?
Watch Hillary and Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Yeah, they wear upside down crosses around their neck. Really? Right in public.
Yeah. So anyway, lots of weirdness going on in the world. Don't participate. Take control of your own mind so that other people don't control it for you. You want to remember, right after our September class, we do begin our new seminar, self-healing group webinar.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, they're always good. In fact, I think I have like 2 spaces open.
Only.
Yeah, and this, for example, we're going to be talking about ending old cycles. We're going to talk about depression, confrontation, clearing your
And
path.
speaking of that,
Yes.
our class is just booked to capacity.
Our
I
September
don't even
one.
have any chairs left to put in
And
there.
our September one. But
Yeah.
we do have a couple spaces. I've got 2 spaces left still in this webinar. So if you're interested in joining, you need to do that. Self-study, studying your own, Hyperspace Plus, healing archetypes and symbols. And remember what I told you, it is expensive to send things. You can put in Hyperspace Helper, Stuart says. We get it, actually it's £4 US.
It's cheaper to just ask me to come first class to give it to you by hand.
Yeah, well-
and feed me a gourmet dinner.
A lot of things going on there. And then, of course, I have the children's series, and we continually get people who want the podcast in another language. Well, you know what? It takes a lot of time for somebody to translate it and then to write it all down. So I do suggest archetype book, protection book, auras, chakras. It doesn't matter how old you
It's beautiful. I
are.
like the color on
Yeah,
that one.
that's what you said last time we showed it. So
I like it though.
yeah, I do too. So really great colors, and there's a good information, which is more important. So for yourself, if English is your second language, and a lot of even English-speaking adults
Who don't
purchase
understand
this,
English themselves.
because this is very, very simple, and that's what a lot of people need. So Lisa gets started. And remember, join our membership. A lot of people want to ask us questions, they want to contact, they want to have a little chat with us, blah, blah. We are extremely busy. We have a great membership section.
Yeah.
This month, I'm doing one called Angry at Life. Last month,
my name is Life, by the way.
yeah. And we did affirmations every day. This month is changing expectations. Last month was removing anger issues. We always have things going on. We have great people from all over the world that you can interact with. And Stuart and I are on those blogs every single day.
Every day.
So there's a lot of information. So these are study blogs. These are for people who are serious about their spiritual growth. Okay, you want to improve your life. You want things better. You want to get better in alignment with your source. $26 a month. You want to contact and talk to us. That's how you're going to do it, is on our blog. So it's great.
Because I hope to retire someday.
Yeah, someday. So like, comment, subscribe, and share. And thank you very much for joining us.
Bye for now, and see you after the class.
Bye.
Bye.